Welcome to iHeartGeek.
And welcome to another episode of iHeartGeek.
Da, 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 da.
Okay, yeah, let's not keep going. Okay, yeah, we're doing an episode on Superman, and this pleases me ever so much.
The Big Blue Boy Scout.
Well, speaking of the Big Blue Boy Scout, today's iHeartGeek is brought to you by a bird, a plane. They are both sick of the Big Blue Boy Scout taking all of their thunder.
Well, wouldn't you be?
Who gets excited? Look, it's a bird. It's a bird.
Well, me, I like birds.
How about the plane?
I like turtles.
I like planes.
Yeah, oh God.
I like lamp.
Don't be a meme. Okay, yeah. Here's our panel of miscontents, I guess, today. Malcontents. Yeah. We have the guy who can't stop laughing over here, the voice of the show himself, Mr. Todd Harvey. How you doing, bud?
Splendid, Wendell. Glad to be here. Glad to see you again, as always. Gentlemen, thank you for including me.
You seem to be enjoying the shows today.
You know, I am.
Okay. John over there from a billion miles away, but because of the magic of editing right next to us. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing splendid, Wendell. How are you doing?
That's fine. Why do you sound all proper? I love how I say, okay, we're recording now, and suddenly you're talking like this.
And I don't curse.
Fine. I'm outstanding, Wendell.
That's better.
Outstanding.
Thank you. You know, I kind of retired that word a while ago. I guess I got to bring it back, don't I?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's your catchphrase.
And we have our the Lex Luthor to my Superman. We have PB&Jason.
Wow. I mean, looking at your head, I think you're the Lex Luthor to my Superman. If you want to really get down to it.
If you want to be the Superman, you can be the Supermensch. We'll get into that one later.
No,
I don't know, PB&J, with your hair, you might be Zizzleplex.
It's possible.
Thank you.
Yeah,
thank you.
That's true.
Very good, Mr. Mixelplex.
That too.
That's cool. Actually, I can handle that.
I know you're still Snorlax. So how are you, sir?
I'm fantastic. I'm excited about this. I am a huge Superman fan. And always have been. Nice. Even though, like Jonathan said, and I agree, I am more of a Marvel guy, but Superman is my favorite DC hero.
Honestly, he's kind of the defining archetype of
what is a superhero.
Yeah.
And I'm also like on the side of whatever you might say against a lot of the edgy hipsters in the whole Batman-Superman debate as well.
Fair enough. And I think that'll actually be a good question. Actually, you know what? Let's get into that now. What is with the Superman-Batman debate?
Well, okay, Frank Miller, the great comic writer, who presented us with the seminal and iconic piece of work called The Dark Knight Returns.
He's not the one that got mad at us, right?
No, that was Mark Millar.
That was Mark Millar, okay.
Who presented us with the amazing Dark Knight Returns. Presented in that Elseworlds tale a reality that people have been debating forever, which was, even though Batman is a but a superb example of humanity, with enough prep time and so forth, he could beat anybody. So in The Dark Knight Returns,
Have we done like a million Who Beats Who about that?
Yeah. So in The Dark Knight Returns, that was written into and artistically rendered into reality. Because they did physically battle, and Batman most definitely got the upper hand. Since that time, and leading to all the things that have come later, you know, there's this whole ridiculous notion
that you can only have one.
That Batman could always beat Superman,
which is not true.
Right. Now, the position I have taken on this is Batman can only beat Superman if Superman allows that to happen. And he has allowed that to happen through several tales, both good and bad. But, you know, I mean, I'm a fan of Batman too, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of really good Batman out there. But that idea of, you know, and it was even, you know, most recently portrayed in Batman versus Superman.
Sorta.
Well, that was a cliff note of The Dark Knight Returns, you know? And it's silly. I mean, it's so silly an idea, you know?
John, actually, if you don't mind, Wendell, Jace, I absolutely appreciate your point of view on this, but I have to argue one point.
Okay.
Ooh,
no, good.
I do. Just 1 point out of what you just said.
Okay.
Batman beat Superman fair and square because Batman was willing to cheat.
Okay. I suppose
using kryptonite was brilliant.
Yes.
And powered armor coupled with that?
Yes.
Brilliant. Superman wouldn't have thought of cheating. Batman will use any means necessary to win.
No, I agree with you.
It wasn't because Superman let him win. Batman kicked his ass.
Wow.
No,
Fighting words about to happen.
again, Superman. No, in my opinion, Superman still let him win because, again, this is drawing. Have you read The Dark Knight Returns?
Of course.
Okay, of course you have. So it drew from that source material.
Batman flat out thank him.
I don't agree with you.
Okay.
No, on The Dark Knight Returns, absolutely not.
Okay.
Reason being, I mean, I think it's the thought of anyone being able to beat Superman without them letting him is ridiculous. I think Batman would stand the strongest chance. However, Superman knew he was alive and he let it keep going. Mm-hmm. And he held back. Superman, you read all comic history, Superman
that's the whole point.
Always holds back.
That's the point.
If he doesn't want to
he
hold
held back.
But that's what I'm saying.
Clark didn't.
No,
Bruce didn't.
But that's what I'm saying. Where I can agree with you that yes, Batman will resort to whatever tactic he needs to win.
By hook or by crook, baby.
Correct. But against Superman, if Superman decides I am not going to lose to Batman,
he's not
he'll
he's not going
vaporize
to
you.
lose.
But he can be outthought. And Bruce would be the one to do it. Bruce looks big picture more than anyone else in comicdom.
I suppose. Okay.
John, well, where do you sit on this?
On the whole Batman-Superman debate?
Like, I checked out for that whole thing. Go ahead.
No. I've had other friends, like, they think that they're more on the Batman side. I'm just like, I kind of agree with what Jason. It's like he lets them win. Because if he really wanted to go off, he could destroy pretty much most of humanity if he wanted to. All he has to do is just get a hold of a freaking nuclear bomb, walk into the same place as Superman, let it go off, and he'd walk away.
True. Batman's the cooler, sexier choice because he's human. Blah blah blah.
Brooding.
We can take anybody we want. But Superman, honestly, he's the nuclear alternative. You can't beat him.
Yeah.
In real, let's look at this. Even with kryptonite, you're not gonna beat him.
What did you just say? He's the what?
He's the nuclear option.
The nuclear option?
Oh my god.
Nuclear.
Really do this?
Not gonna do it.
Oy.
Not gonna do it.
Not gonna do it. We have like a million. We have like a million episodes,
Now,
and no one's griped till now.
I don't think Superman is unbeatable. I think you put an opponent against him like John Jones, Martian Manhunter, then we're talking about a legitimate
mental warfare.
Right, but also Martian Manhunter possesses nearly all of the physical capabilities as well as the ability to, get into your head. It just Batman is a man. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
He's as clever as can be, and he's, as skilled as any human would be, and he will resort to anything. You are absolutely right. But Superman lets him win.
Yeah,
That's it.
Well, he's not Superman. He's super alien.
Yep.
Okay, well, we'll probably get back into this later. Let's move on to our Who Beats Who.
And now it's time for a showdown.
Okay, for this version of Who Beats Who, we have it's unfortunate that Winchester isn't here for this one because we have his two people are facing off.
Oh, they are.
We have Bill the Butcher versus
who is from
Gangs of New York versus Patrick Bateman from
American
Psycho. We're talking a couple of sociopathic nutsoids. Yeah. So let me give out the votes so far that we have. We have Facebook and Twitter once again split their vote.
The nerve.
Those jerks, right? So that is split. We have one for Bateman and one for the Butcher. With our 2 proxy votes, which are Kaj and Winchester, and I really figure that Winchester really deserves a proxy vote, but they both voted for the Butcher. So so far we are up 3-1.
Okay.
So I got to be completely honest. I'm not super familiar with either of these. I know more about Bill the Butcher, because I actually watched that movie, and I mean I've seen the clips with Patrick Bateman, and honestly, I don't see him I see him as a cerebral assassin, but he's not going to be. If you're going face to face, I think Butcher's going to rip him up.
Okay,
and it's pretty much as simple as that. And I don't have a whole lot of argument because I don't know Bateman as much. Okay, but I'm going to give it to the Butcher.
No, go ahead, Todd. I want to hear. Go ahead. That was pretty. That was pretty scary looking what you just did.
Bill the Butcher, as per the movie, is pretty unstoppable. He's just a sociopathic force of nature
with a bat. Yeah.
Yeah. He doesn't have problem shedding blood to get his way.
Correct.
Now, anybody who has seen American Psycho, there's a particular scene where Bateman diddles around with a couple of hookers and kills one, and the other one runs off screaming down a set of stairs. Bateman starts up a chainsaw and drops it on her from like 4 floors up.
Listening to my Limp Bizkit. Gotcha.
Oh, dude. But just the visuals of that scene. I mean, literally, he tracks her with his eyes, moves the chainsaw and drops it on her. The guy is moving from sociopath to psychopath at a rapid rate, and he happens to be fairly powerful in the money-changing world. He's rich, good-looking, the world's at his feet, and he's absolutely going from sociopathy into psychopathy. I don't think the Butcher would stand much more of a 10 seconds against.
It's almost like he's Batman. Sorry, just having fun with the
worst Batman ever.
Without the moral compass, yeah.
Right.
Nice.
Imagine Batman with absolutely amoral compass.
Right.
John, where are you sitting?
I'm kind of on the same thing with you. It's like I don't really know too much about American Psycho, didn't see it, but I know about Bill the Butcher. But kind of a couple things you brought up, Todd, like, oh, he's, rich and all that stuff, but so is Bill the Butcher. Bill the Butcher wielded a lot of power, too, politically as well, so he could probably keep himself out of jail, and do all the crap that he wanted to do, like he was kind of doing in Gangs in New York. So
That's a good point.
I don't know, I think Bill the Butcher kind of possesses a little bit more being able to be grounded and not a complete psychopath.
Okay.
I don't know. That's my take.
I think what you're pointing at is that he rides the logic train a little better.
Yeah, because he would be able to keep himself out of like major trouble as opposed to just like I just want to see the world burn.
Yeah, not giving a flying foorah and just watching it all tumble down.
Editing, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. I'm editing myself.
Appreciate that.
Nice. Well, first off, there's the whole theory and question of whether or not anything Patrick Bateman did actually even happened.
I've heard that theory.
Okay.
Yep.
So there is that factor, which means that all of that chainsaw prowess and things that have been mentioned could have been a fabrication of...
he might be sitting in a rubber room in a jacket that straps on the back. Right. No doubt.
But let's actually say that that's not the case, okay? And he did indeed, with his, psychopathically brilliant mind and prowess, accomplish what he accomplished in that movie.
And get away with it.
You still have the conditions and the life of Bill the Butcher, who I just think brings a genuine, undeniable toughness that, a toughness and a,
tactile visceralness.
But I will argue that Bill the Butcher is not pathic. I will argue that he is a product of his environment, took all the advantage of that environment to become a very effective, very tough, violent, out of necessity a lot of the time, leader with a definite code of honor, and would bring all of that to a confrontation against one person. I mean, he's been in gang wars, and come out, alive.
Generally, though, a code of honor has more than just yourself in mind.
Yeah, but no,
But either side, I mean, either
maybe
one would only be
maybe
looking
a
at
rule
themselves.
book.
he does have a rule book.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
No, I think that he would just out-scrap, out-tough. He'd have no
On
problem.
pure toughness, I think you're right. I think the Butcher's got the bill, but I think the mentality behind it and being able to get away with it, I've still got to go with Bateman.
No, that's fine. I don't think that anything Bateman would bring to the table would even faze the Butcher. I think he'd be like, okay,
Bring it.
crazy guy I have to deal with. Bring it. Exactly.
All right.
Okay, so I get there's really looking at the numbers, there's no escaping it. We have Bateman with 2 and Butcher with 6.
Who else voted for Bateman?
That was everyone except for
No, wait. I thought Bateman only had 2.
yeah, it's Twitter and
Me
Twitter
and
and Todd.
Woo!
and your favorite thing because you're on it all the time.
So Butcher moves on.
Butcher, and Quinn. I don't know if they're going to be fighting, but yeah, they're next.
Oh,
Now that would actually be
Quinn will kick
that would actually be an
man's
interesting
ass.
fight.
Quinn will kick that man's ass.
I think there's already smack talk going on. Nice. Okay, so instead of doing a game show this week, I really just kind of wanted to go into some of the bullet points of the history of Superman in general.
And mind you, these bullet points will sping off of his chest.
They do that.
Nice.
Because they're pretty awesome.
And what a history that this character has. I mean, before you do that, just kind of stop for a moment and imagine if there never was a Superman.
There'd be no comics.
I mean, there would, maybe, but
There might be comics, but I think they'd be a lot more boring.
We'd go back to true romance.
would there ever
They'd be
actually,
more like Archie comics than anything
right?
else.
Would there even be superheroes? Exactly.
Yeah,
Would
but
there
maybe
even be-
Jughead would have a machine gun.
He does in the new ones. He's a zombie. or something.
Awesome.
would there even be superheroes the way that we
I think that
have them?
I think that culture itself would change if Superman did not exist.
Yeah.
Well,
And that's
know-
not overplaying the hand. That is a fact.
considering that it came out in 33,
Well,
and
the first
it
version.
came out with such a big character, it put the bar pretty damn high.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, honestly,
almost too high, and we'll get to some of that later.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And I mean, they had to deal with trademark infringement lawsuits almost from the get-go. But the fact that they made such a leap of imagination to come up with this person or this alien who is so much more everything than every man, it's a hell of an accomplishment in any way you mark it.
Okay. Well, let's start with the infancy of Superman. Was created by Siegel and Schuster in 1933. Very different from the Superman that we know.
In Cleveland! What the hell?
He wasn't an alien. He was a bald guy that took some drugs and it expanded his mind. He's more Lex Luthor than Superman. He was a bad guy. It's the Supermensch, which is a German Nietzsche. It was
The
based on
Nietzschean Superman.
yeah,
yes.
Right.
which is really freaky. And that was the original Superman. Now,
Well, the Nietzschean Superman is at its core selfishness embodiment.
and which is funny because Superman is the exact opposite of.
Right.
Okay. So yeah, that was 33. And by 38, they had Siegel and Schuster had tried their very best to bury every
Supermensch.
Supermensch,
Yeah.
anything that was related to that.
repackaging.
They were desperately trying to make that.
Now,
Kind of like
before-
a Christmas special.
Right.
Yeah, like the Star Wars Christmas special. Exactly right.
Before you move on from 38, was 38 the time, Todd, especially helping me out on this, was this when the issue with Fawcett Comics and Captain Marvel started? Was this
I'm
around
not sure
then?
What year that happened? To be honest,
Because I do know that was one of the first. Todd, you had mentioned lawsuits and such
Yeah.
from the get-go. I think that was, if not the first, it was one of the first.
well, it had it would have been after because they sold to DC in 38.
Okay.
When they became
Superman's
1.
Superman's success obviously quickly spawned a wave of imitations, and Detective Comics defended its copyright vigorously. In 1939,
the year after, okay.
A character was called Wonder Man, but a lawsuit from Detective Comics, DC,
yes, right.
Thank you, forced its cancellation after just one issue.
Wonder Man, okay.
Yeah.
So, Fawcett Comics came out with Captain Marvel in 1940.
40, okay.
And for some years, that character outsold Superman, but after a lot of legal BS, Fawcett was forced to cease publishing it in 53.
Well, before we move on, let's think about that. Why did it outsell? It was a much smarter, especially at the time.
Better marketing.
It was so much better marketing. It was, hey, this is to see the superhero. He's a kid.
Right.
He's only a man when he has to be. Otherwise, he's still a kid. He's just like you.
Only a man when he has to be.
Oh, wouldn't that be nice?
But then again, it was.
I want to read.
But then again, it was a much more innocent time. They'd just gotten used to the concept of World War.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Color TVs.
Right.
Yeah. Color TVs. Exactly.
Not yet. Color TV was still a little bit off.
51.
Right.
Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, okay. Right, okay. So okay. And Action Comics #1?
Action Comics #1, 1938.
Right.
And that's when Siegel and Schuster sold Superman.
Sold.
Now this is
idiot.
This is such a bit of contention with comic people, and I'm going to say that everything that DC has done since then, honestly, is bending over backwards, and it's nice that they gave him a dime afterwards.
Sometimes forward.
Oh, nice. Yeah, right.
A lot of people, they deserve credit forever, and they deserve money forever. No, they sold their product.
Correct.
That's what happens when you sell the rights to a idea.
Yeah.
This is a hotly contested issue still to this day, because I think the Schuster family's the only one left. They're still profiting off of Superman. They shouldn't. They sold their rights, and they went to court for all those years. And it sucks that they ended up being destitute and poor and blah blah blah. Because they created the greatest.
I wish we would have talked about this 2 minutes ago when I gave a flying hoo-ha.
Wow, that was nice.
Thank you.
But
once again, self-editing at work.
Yeah, that was nice. But they sold their product, and that's all I'm going to say on that one. Just I don't get why there always is such contention.
You sell the product. You sell away your rights. That's just the whole point of it. It's like some of the people who created some of the technological stuff that we use. They signed a release. They gave it away. They have no right to it anymore.
Yeah, marketing 101.
Yeah, and they still made money off of every time they drew Superman after that. Good for them, because that's how it works. If DC had not bought Superman, what would have happened? We would not be talking about it today. We wouldn't be talking about superhero comics.
Correct.
In general.
It would have fizzled.
Yeah. So, hey, and DC is what? A business.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Just saying. Okay, so it went from comics, and in 1940, they appeared on radio for the first time. They did 41 episodes of Superman with George Reeves as actually the voice actor for it.
Oh, nice.
Really?
Who was the same voice actor who did, in 1941, they did 19 episodes of the animated Superman for Fleischer Studios.
Oh, very cool.
If you're familiar with Fleischer Studios at all, that's...
the Margarine Company.
No, not that. No, that's Fleischman.
No, but the show was butter, so...
Well,
Thank you.
I don't know if you heard about the technology that they did in that. They'd actually film it, and then they'd draw over it. So it always had a really realistic look to it for the time anyway.
Interesting.
That's how they did the flying scenes in later movies as well.
Nice.
And let's see. Superman and the Mole Man was the first Superman movie in 1951.
Superman the Mole Man, huh?
Superman versus the Mole Man.
That's interesting.
And that was supposed to usher in the Superman TV show.
Oh. How'd that work out?
It worked, except for the curse of the Superman. Sorry. Still waiting to hear back on some of these on anybody after Christopher Reeves.
Right.
So that's then they hit TV, and then honestly, it was just kind of there were sitcoms. There's everything else in between there until 1978, And 78 is honestly the modern era of Superman because that's when Christopher Reeves put on the tights and they made Superman the movie with Richard Donner, which is the defining moment of Superman. And that brings us
as far as
that's modern era.
Resetting Superman.
I mean, they had some bad decisions in there, turning the Earth around backwards.
Yeah, but I mean...
Because that's how time travel works, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, overall, we're talking about Christopher Reeves.
Yeah.
Or Christopher Reeve.
Who was fantastic in the role.
I mean,
still.
If you look at comics from right around there,
that's who it was.
You know, they changed to be him. You know, it's...
As well they should have.
Yes, absolutely.
Just absolutely was Superman. And the way he played Clark Kent as 3 inches shorter than him.
He had the right amount of innocence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he did. Very much. He had the Boy Scout behind his eyes.
The boy from Kansas in a big city. Yep.
You know, especially, you know, and let's talk about that scene when he sees Lois Lane and they're having their interview in her apartment. Well, what color underwear am I wearing?
Well, I don't know. You're standing behind a planter. It must be made of lead.
Yeah, and he's but the embarrassment that you can actually see that he portrays without being ridiculous.
But then, of course, in that same scene, she continues to ask him questions and walks around and, pink.
Pink?
What? Your underwear is pink.
But that's what a Kansas boy
and she walks back
because
around.
It was innocent enough to know, she's flirting with me.
But she also asked a question.
Yeah. Well, but that's what Superman should be.
Yeah.
He has to be so stupidly innocent.
The big blue Boy Scout, baby. Yeah.
That he's not going to be looking at what he's not supposed to.
And this brings up an interesting point: the surrounding cast of Superman, how important Lois Lane, Perry White, Jimmy Olsen, and all of them are. You know,
these are things that have just been really created more and more over the years. I don't know if you knew this with Jimmy Olsen, where he really got his notoriety. They had a Archie type comic for Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen.
Oh, right.
Do you know who took over that comic and made it actually so that the new gods showed up and everything else?
Kirby.
Oh,
wow.
That was the big coup at the time from Marvel Comics.
Oh, wow, really?
That's what they didn't give.
Well, that was at a time, right?
They said, "Hey, you get to have."
Well, that was at a time when they were all kind of jumping companies back and forth, you know.
Some of us aren't appreciating the comic talk. You guys, you signed up to do a Superman episode. What do you think's going to happen?
I just defer to you guys because it's just interesting hearing you guys talk about it because you know a lot more than I do.
Well, yeah,
and you're also more of DC.
Well,
especially you, Wendell. You're more of a DC guy than I am, so it's just interesting to hear other people talk about it.
So now, and this, I mean, it just gets kind of convoluted after Superman the movie. I mean, we have comics where Superman died. We have Justice League.
Honestly, the original, not original, but the movies in the '80s with Chris Reeve. They got pretty stupid. That one with Richard Pryor.
Yes. After
was just
3.
Asinine.
After 2.
We've discussed
What do you mean after 3? 3 was... No, you had a person who fell into a computer and turns into a robot.
Relax.
Wow, did you see John go right up the wall on that one? That was awesome.
No, me and Wendell have had this conversation before.
On this show.
He crapped, yes, on this show. He crapped so much on Superman 4 and then just kind of glosses over 3.
You just went...
Superman 4 is worse.
I'm Richard Pryor.
You just went total Spider-Man,
and I can control the weather.
I think it was more Red Hulk.
Oh, good one.
Superman 4 is worse. Anyway...
Okay, so anyway,
1 and 2,
it started off with that Richard Pryor movie.
Which was terrible.
Holy God, that was bad. And you know what? Chris Reeve played a great Superman.
Yes,
because the innocence factor was great. The look was great.
Except for when he became an a-hole and destroyed an oil tanker.
Yeah, and then he broke his neck and there it went.
And now there was another color.
Almost raped somebody.
We're creating kryptonite that's going to make you split in half or something.
Fights himself in a junkyard.
Yeah, we know. And 5 o'clock shovel. So, but that is where Superman kind of went through a dark era. And honestly, probably, I think he's had some great comic storylines. Smallville was brilliant, but it didn't really translate to anything else.
That whole dark period, that whole super because F you, yeah, it didn't appeal to me at all.
Yeah. Well, honestly, and once the New 52 hit with DC, that's, I think, when everything revitalized. As much as everyone likes to crap on it.
Soup ain't supposed to have a dark side, though. He's supposed to be the shining example of what is right.
I agree.
See, and this gets to the whole issue of, like, all of the Superman negativity that drives me crazy. From all of the edgy, I'm calling you edgy hipsters out there.
You bastards.
You don't like it when something's negative? Okay, go ahead.
No.
He's going to argue this. You know this.
It makes him angry and negative.
Go ahead.
I can be negative. Thank you. I'm also here.
Punks, only I can be negative.
But the negativity towards Superman drives me crazy because
what's there to be negative about?
Well, Superman's boring. No, he's not.
Writers are boring.
Superman's overpowered. No, he's not. No, none of this is actually true. If you cannot handle almost 80 years of history and then write a good Superman story, you've got no business writing Superman.
You're in the wrong biz.
You know, it's almost like an artist should be able to draw their hand.
Incredibly
it's
enough,
right in front of you.
I happen to agree with Jason on this.
You know, actually, you segue to the next thing I want to talk about. So, Superman's been around about 100 years. How do you keep him relevant with these godlike powers, with 100 years of stories written all about him? How do you keep him relevant?
2 words: social relevancy.
Okay, how? What makes him relevant now?
Well,
every story about Superman has been told.
For example, there was a marketing job done a few years back that had a picture of a guy in the red and blue underwear, wasted away with an oxygen mask on it. It was an AIDS. Yeah, it was horrible, but
they licensed that.
Yes, but it was very relevant. You know. Okay, he's been around, 80 to 100 years? Mm-hmm. Okay, he's had to change with the social mores, with the LGBTQRBF whatever movement going on, with the anti-gun movement going on, with the changing presidents going on. All of these are, I mean, you could watch South Park and see the same thing.
Okay.
Social relevancy.
I'm going to counter that. Okay.
Of course you are.
No, I'm going to counter that. I think it's an intelligent argument that you present, but I'm going to counter it. All around Superman, and you could use another example from Marvel, you could say Captain America, okay?
Yeah.
Who are very similar not power-wise, but
they're the same
ideology.
Outlook-wise.
Ideology now is very similar,
brain.
right? So you can make all the social relevance, all the changes, all of the differences go on around these characters. Keep them what they are.
Well,
I agree with you 100%. No, I didn't say that.
Hold on.
Yes, I do.
That's the dichotomy. Society changes. This particular character, his entire thing is he doesn't change.
Right.
He's incapable physically. Hold on. Physically.
Okay.
Of changing. But even somebody who's in stasis physically can change mentally.
See, okay, so the New 52 Superman is the Superman that Henry Cavill's Superman is based on.
Yes.
Now, I like Henry Cavill.
I do too. I think he does a good job.
I think he looks the part even more than Christopher Reeve. But
well, he's a lot more packed.
Yeah, and I think that they might move into making him actually be Superman. I think it's possible. Mm-hmm. But to start with the Superman that they gave us in The Man of Steel and the Superman that we had in Batman vs. Superman, the emo, goth, dark, depressed Superman was ridiculous because that's not who Superman should be. Just like Captain America should never have been an agent of Hydra.
I agree with you, but now let's go. The comics, he is not that character. He's not emo. He's not...
Thank God. And emo Superman would make me eat a gun.
And those times that Superman some writer has went on and Superman no longer wishes to be an American, blah, blah, blah. And that's
Red
when
Sun.
that's when the Superman stuff. That's when his popularity wanes. Is when they do stupid stuff like that.
Because
you can't make a social statement to Superman. Superman is supposed to be what is good about us, what's good about the country.
Again,
period.
Again, Wendell, physically unchanging, mentally, he's adaptable.
But he shouldn't.
But with Superman though, like he's kind of a big unifier, right?
Yeah.
Like he should. They need to go back to that because if you think about society right now, how polarized it is with Democrat versus Republican, whatever, all the crap. But you got to think about like, okay, fine, you have all this stuff, this like this societal turmoil going on. Have Superman be there trying to help bridge that gap, bridge that divide that has been
not
caused
picking
between
a
us.
side.
Basically, treating those people who are the big polarizers as Lex Luthor or some of these other bad guys, and being like, hey, you know what? You guys really, on the 99% of the time, disagree on small things, not major things, but you have this a-hole who's basically sitting there trying to just divide you even more than you really are.
God, that sounds so like modern society.
No, I totally agree with you, Jonathan.
You
because,
are 100% on.
Because Superman would not play politics. Absolutely.
No.
He would not.
He wouldn't go to the UN and say that we all need to do something. That's good, like they've been doing in the movies. That's not Superman.
Right.
He would just do what is the right thing.
Right. Exactly.
According to
him.
Okay, so you're saying he's a moral compass.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Kind of, absolutely.
Yeah.
He has to
totally.
be. He has. Okay. Let's look at this honestly.
This gets real deep real quick.
Superman is a god, and he is
in comparison with human beings.
He
yes.
should be infallible as such.
Okay. Now
that's the problem. That's the problem. With
you having said that,
them giving him social.
You having said that, what can this new god create?
Nothing.
Not a god.
I'm not saying he's Dr. Manhattan. Okay?
Well, what I was going to say, there's a contrast, though, because Superman has the powers unto a god as compared to humans.
No,
he
is a superhuman, not a god.
Okay. Inside Superman's mind and Superman's heart, he is a human.
Having been raised by that? Yes.
Yes, he is a man.
Mm-hmm.
Clark Kent is the real person. Superman is the disguise.
Well, not if you listen to Quentin Tarantino, which I kind of do agree with.
I don't listen to Quentin Tarantino.
I think that was a fantastic speech on Kill Bill. If you've never heard that one,
right.
You need to.
Right. No, I have, and I disagree with it.
I agree with it. Superman is what we should be aspiring to be. And Clark Kent is who we are, but we need to aspire.
I'm not saying that that's not true. I'm saying who Superman is. Mm-hmm. Superman is Clark. Superman is the job. Clark is the person.
So Superman is actually the everyman? Clark?
Clark is the
everyman.
Clark is the everyman.
Superman is not.
No,
Superman is who he is.
Superman is the disguise. Clark is the person.
I don't think so.
Superman's the embodiment. Clark is the
necessity.
The basic visuals.
Right.
It's the yin and the yang. They have to exist together, or else honestly, Superman fails. Superman fails if he doesn't have both parts.
Yeah. Well, he chooses to be both parts.
But see, that's what keeps him grounded. That's what keeps him.
You'd like that, John?
Moral. Because he has both sides.
Well, he also is grounded and moral because of his upbringing.
Yeah, but but having the power to do something about
it's very simple. Clark chose to be Superman. Mm-hmm. Okay, he was Clark first.
I can't say I agree though. I think he
more agreed to be Clark than he did to be Superman. Superman was just kind of like who he always was supposed to be.
Superman's who he had to hide.
Superman was the capability that he could achieve. Clark was who he was raised to be.
Okay, the absolute truth is
this is deep.
Okay, the absolute truth,
it was going to run right off the table.
Okay, the absolute truth is if he would have been raised as he should have been, he would have been Kal-El of Krypton. Okay, if Krypton wouldn't have exploded and he would have
there we are on the big if again. If your aunt had nuts,
he still would have been trying to do the good for his people.
Right, but when Superman was taken by his adoptive parents, the Kents, when he came into cognitive and lucid and understanding, he was Clark.
He was a human.
He was a human named Clark Kent.
But that didn't define his capabilities.
It didn't define his capabilities, but it defined his character.
Yes.
I think that we're all agreeing, but we're using different words. So let's say this. Superman makes Clark a better person. Clark makes Superman a better person. Between the two, they make the perfect person.
So in other words, it's two people on either side of a digit. One says it's 6, one says it's 9.
Yes.
But they're both right.
Okay.
You just made it wrong.
My job here is
wrong.
complete.
Okay. Yeah, I think we've discussed this one to death. Let's move on to our main event.
Now it's time for the main event.
Okay, for today's main event, we're doing our top 5 favorite Superman stories and or arcs. I think we all took this kind of a different way, so we'll see how it goes. So my number 5, as always, we in a descending order, is the Earth 1 Superman series. I don't know if any of you guys have read it.
I haven't read. I'm familiar with it, but I haven't
I'll
read
give
it.
them to you. It's kind of a retelling. It's Superman more set to a modern era. So if he wouldn't have landed in the 50s, he landed in the 90s. Kind of what it would have, kind of the natural progression of what it would have looked like.
So he's got a crappy little beard and they call him Super Dude?
No.
Okay.
But
No, but he's into hip hop and wears cross colors.
Oh, yeah.
Nice. Nicely done.
They explore a lot more of like his mind, being the scientist that he is. They explore more of, the dwindling newspaper
Grunger.
business. So what else is he doing? I mean, other than that, it's a really cool take. It's
super fake news. Awesome.
Same story, little different take, and it's really fun.
Probably
I
vapes.
recommend it.
A modernization.
Yeah, they've done that. They've done these Earth 1 series with Batman and Teen Titans, and they're doing a Green Lantern. I highly recommend them. They're
So he
really
probably
good.
vapes.
Oh God, I hope not.
I don't know.
No,
He has a man bun.
Yeah, but he vapes like lava.
He vapes Brainiac. I'm just saying.
Right.
Uranium.
Geysers. Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
It's
my
kryptonite.
first is the original story of him in Doomsday.
Which was
The Death of Superman?
Was that his first one? Was Death
Yeah.
of Superman?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The
1993.
death of Ark was it was wrenching for me because I've never really watched Superman get his ass kicked before.
Right.
And it left an impression on me because I mean Supes is the man.
Right.
And Doomsday was everything anti him.
Yeah.
And he won.
I don't remember who wrote it, but there is also a novelization of The Death of Superman, in addition to the comic. The novelization, Todd, my book reading friend, is completely worth it. In fact, I'll even let you borrow it if you want.
Outstanding.
Yes.
Tell you what, with that comic, how big a deal it was. I remember at the same time reading a Marvel comic that had Quicksilver in it, and this it was just kind of a throwaway line. Quicksilver's passing by a cop. The cop goes, "I wonder where he's going." The other guy says, "Oh, he's probably trying to get one of those Superman Dies issues." That's how big a deal that was. That Marvel was talking about it.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
It
was
was everywhere. I remember seeing it on the news.
I probably honestly should have had that as my number one because how it affected me. Quite frankly, I consider myself not necessarily a brainiac or anything, but I consider myself marginally intelligent. But this was such a total emotional slap in the face to watch Superman actually die.
Right.
Yeah.
That it stuck in my craw for a long time.
Let me just
I
say,
can't wait for the rest of your list. That's fine.
Let me just say, no, you shouldn't have had that as your number one. Okay, just you'll see why eventually.
That made my list at another point too. John.
All right. Well, seeing as I'm not that up on too much of the Superman stuff, I actually put in some of the movies. My number 5 is Man of Steel. I thought it was finally about time they had a good Superman movie since Batman or Superman Returns was just
Henry Cavill's first attempt at Superman.
Yeah, I thought honestly it was like, oh, finally they did like a kind of a decent job of Superman.
Yeah, it didn't suck, huh?
Yeah, I was like, oh, hey, like I like Brandon Routh. I thought he was okay. I just don't see him as Superman.
No.
I thought he was too much of a young punk, actually.
Yeah, and then same with like Kevin Spacey being Lex Luthor. It's just like
it was terrible.
Can I just say, can we please get a good Lex Luthor that isn't either a used car salesman or some like spoiled teen? I'm tired of them doing such a garbage job of Lex Luthor. The cartoons are so far the only ones that have actually gotten it right.
Yeah, that's true. But
you know who would make a great Lex Luthor in a movie?
James
Donald
Spader.
Trump.
I honestly, me and my wife had this discussion, and she asked me who I think would be a good Lex Luthor, and I said James Spader. Like, have you ever watched like The Blacklist?
If he'd go bald,
he is bald.
He is? Oh yeah, he is.
Have you watched The Blacklist? He's bald.
No. Well, but I mean, completely shaved.
How about Denzel Washington?
Well, because everywhere they have to change everything. Hey, why not Ving Rhames?
Oh, they're gonna Daredevil. They're gonna do like the Daredevil movie Kingpin.
Yeah, that's what I was just going with. Jason.
Henry Cavill is a good-looking Superman. They haven't made a good Superman movie with him yet, but that's my opinion. My number 5 is a single-issue comic, Hitman number 34.
You've talked about this before.
And I would recommend, you can find it online very easily. Hitman is Tommy Monahan. Mm-hmm. He is a mildly superpowered hitman of mobsters.
Okay.
And he lives in Gotham. He operates out of Gotham. And he's created by Garth Ennis. Mm-hmm. Very interesting comic, fun, silly, serious, all the things. But this particular issue, Tommy Monahan is up on the roof and in Gotham, in the Cauldron, and he looks over and there's Superman.
Yeah.
And he's in fact, he's reading Action Comics. Mm-hmm. And then he looks over and there's Superman.
Oh, nice.
Then Superman and Tommy go on to have one of the most interesting conversations that I've ever read in comics. Mm-hmm. They talk about heroism. They talk about immigration. They talk about immigration in a way that they don't talk about immigration today.
So non-political.
Very non-political correct discussion. And it has an ending that if you, again, read the Hitman comic, it has an ending that just blows your mind. Again, Garth Ennis is my favorite comic writer.
Yeah, absolutely.
And his writing prowess comes out so beautifully in that number 34. Plus, he treats Superman with complete and utter respect.
Nice. Okay, my number 4 is the title of the arc or the story was "What to Get the Man Who Has Everything." Mm-hmm. It's Superman, and he gets trapped by the Black Death, Mercy Death, something like that. Mm-hmm. It's a flower, and it actually sucks over your face, and it gives you exactly what you want in your brain, and you're living in this fantasy world as you slowly die. And
wow, what did he want?
He's bad. He's on Krypton with Lois Lane, and he has kids, and he's a farmer, and he's happy. And he's with his father and everything else, and then he realizes what's going on.
Oh, I know this story.
And he realizes what's going on. This is.
He's a moisture farmer.
No, I know
and then the stormtroopers show up.
No, I know the heart. You're going to talk about something heart-wrenching.
Yes, and then he had honestly the most heart-wrenching thing I've ever read in a Spider-Man or Superman comic. He sits down and he has this conversation with his son. He's like, "I have to go." "No, Daddy, don't go." "No, I have to go
because you're not real.
You're not real," and the kid just starts crying.
Yeah,
I had tears coming down as I read that. It was.
Yep. I agree.
Justice
with you.
League Unlimited. Their first episode when it went from Justice League to Justice League Unlimited was that.
I was about to ask. I remember them doing that, like in one of the TV shows.
Yeah, that is one of the greatest stories ever been told in Superman because it gives him so much humanity,
personal depth, huh?
Oh my God, it touched me.
Yep,
hard.
Go ahead.
I don't ever want to hear that from you again. Okay, number 4 on my list was when they formed the Justice League.
Yeah.
Okay.
Flat out, everything about that entire arc and everything that spawned from it was worthwhile.
The original version, I'm guessing you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah, after the Justice Society.
Right. Very nice.
Was kind of like kissing your sister. It got the job done, but it wasn't very fulfilling. Nice face, John.
Oh, John, get us out of here. Get us out of here, John.
Wow, my number 4 was the comics after Superman died, The Return of Superman.
Yeah, very cool. I liked it.
Here's the deal, though. Like, it actually got me reading. I think I read Superman comics for maybe like a year and a half after the whole death of Superman. It actually got me into reading them more. Like,
Right.
as far as the DC ones were concerned.
And I liked the 4 characters that emerged. All of them went on to do very interesting things. You had, Connor, Superboy. You had
Steel.
You had Steel.
Steel.
You had
Shaquille O'Neal.
the Cyborg, Henry, whatever his name was, the Cyborg Superman.
Yeah.
And you had the Eradicator.
I don't remember him, though.
All of them went on to do very interesting things, no doubt. All right, my number 4 is the amazing comic by Mark Waid with the art of Alex Ross, and that is Kingdom Come.
Okay.
Yeah. Right.
Kingdom Come is basically Injustice if Superman would have stayed good, because he had to retired from superheroism, then he came back for various reasons and started to
kids became a-holes.
Well, no, it was the fact that that superheroes had become totally unchecked.
Isn't that where they got the story for Megamind?
I don't know, but superheroes have become totally unchecked.
Yeah.
A lot of the old ones had gone into retirement or second tier things.
And he was still 33 years old.
No, he had actually aged.
Really?
He's
Yeah.
great. If you look at the
Yeah,
art,
they had him, like,
I've
gray
never
and
read
all
it,
that.
but I've seen the
Yeah.
art. And
And,
Art has some
so-
great.
What I have?
So again, there's on the sides,
Fantastic Four
on the
thing.
sides. So 2 factions come back, and of course the faction that opposes Clark in his attempt to straighten out the heroes is Batman's faction, of course.
Duh.
And they do end up in opposing positions. However, it concludes very satisfyingly. If you haven't read it, it's totally worth
I'm
going.
going
Excellent.
to
Yes.
dig that
Excellent.
out. Read it. Okay, my number 3 was 1993 Death of Superman. I'm going to take that out just because I know that's going to be on everybody's list. And I'm actually going to change it to Sandman, the last comic, or the second to last comic of the series with Neil Gaiman, when they're all at his funeral. When they're at Morpheus' funeral. And Superman and Batman are there, and they're having a conversation. And it's like one page, and it's really profound. But Superman and Batman are going back and forth, and Superman looks at Batman and goes, "Don't you hate it when you're having that dream that you're somebody else and you can't get away?" And Batman goes, "Doesn't everybody?" It's like, it's fantastic.
Gave you the Wigglies, did it?
Oh my god, it was so. And those 2 characters, no one else could have said it, and it was just perfect.
Right.
Excellent. All right, my number 3. This is probably going to get some chuckles of disdain from my distinguished colleagues here, but it was a crossover comic. It's when Superman and the Hulk fought.
That's a good
I'll
comic.
give you that.
That's,
I remember that
that's
The
one.
Hulk smashed Soups with a right cross, and Soups went flying.
Yeah.
And then, he gathered himself and he said, "Wow, okay, boy can hit." And he flew
When
back.
did he turn into Sylvester Stallone? Sorry, go
Whatever.
ahead.
And he flew back, and then he stood his ground
As Hulk punched the crap out of him.
as Superman, the immovable object, and Hulk just went to town on him. Boom, boom, boom.
Didn't move him.
Didn't move him, which just infuriated Hulk, made him madder, made him bigger, made him hit harder, and to nothing.
Right.
Soups just gave him that bored look, and it was but it was worthwhile to watch these 2 colossus
Yes.
go head to head.
Yeah, that comic is probably sitting right over there in that pile.
Rally.
Because
My brother has that one, actually.
Yeah, that's actually an offshoot from Superman Spider-Man, which is
Okay,
yeah.
it was a great
Yeah.
crossover between Marvel and
Right.
DC, and it was appreciated when I read it.
Superman and Hulk in crossovers have battled 2 or 3 times, I believe, and Superman has come out the victor.
There's about to be a new Justice League versus Avengers, by the way.
Oh, very cool. I'm in.
Snyder and whoever.
So glad I'm sitting down right now.
But Superman has always come out victorious.
You can't beat Superman.
It's Soups,
sorry.
come on!
Even if it's a fight to a standstill.
All right, John, number 3.
It's going to piss Wendell off, but Superman 4. You got to remember, dude, the age I was when that came out. It's like the perfect thing. I was like the perfect age at the time.
Okay, no, wait. I'm going to offer the same sympathy and empathy to Jonathan from California as I do to any person of a certain age that talks about liking the Star Wars prequels. Okay?
Do not compare those two.
Holy God!
Okay?
Thank you for being condescending, Jason.
He called you Spike.
I heard it too.
Because if it's your first sojourn into Superman films, that's utterly sad, but still, if that is your first sojourn into Superman films, that's the one that's going to leave the impression.
I'm not even willing to give
the
this
first
a courtesy
one, but
clap,
I watched a lot of Superman 1, and then somehow I don't remember why we didn't see 2 and 3, and then we went into 4. Like,
Wait a minute, wait. Did you say you saw 1 first?
Yeah.
Okay, I take back everything I just said complimentary about you. Sorry, it's gone now. It's done. All right, so anyway.
So number 3.
Still better than 3. Still better than 3.
Oh, goodness. Okay, so my number 3 is again, a comic by Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale. It's called Superman 4 All Seasons.
Didn't you just give John crap for Superman 4?
Superman FOR All Seasons.
I heard you clearly, dude.
Now this is the perfect story illustrating what I was talking about earlier about the Clark Kent is the person and Superman is the occupation or whatever you want to call it. It's called 4 Seasons because they go through spring, summer,
Funny enough,
fall, winter, and a lot of it takes place in Smallville. And a lot of it takes place in New York. It has a real interesting. It's almost like it's a throwback to an older time of Superman, but it's done so well. It's like I really want to understand who Superman is. Go read that series, and it's again why nobody should ever write a bad Superman story, because you have something like that as reference.
Yeah,
And if you do, you're just being lazy.
Exactly.
Good enough.
My number 2 is, I believe it's a 12-issue legacy, and a fantastic film as well, which was All-Star Superman. What happens when Superman knows he's going to die and he's tying up his loose ends?
That was Grant Morrison, right?
Yes.
Serious loose ends, man.
Oh, it was deep. It's amazing. I mean, you see just the hope that Lois Lane still has and that Martha still has, and he's still trying to do the right thing to the last minute. And,
I'm going to give you this.
And he does do the right thing.
I'm going to give you this. The animated film.
Yeah,
I agree with you. Mm-hmm. I have some issues with the comic.
You know what? I said it's been a lot of years since I read the comic, so I couldn't really tell you.
Yeah.
How about we just take your last statement and just contract it to the first 4 words? I have some issues.
Okay.
But I do highly recommend the film.
Done.
If nothing else, watch the film. It is Superman at his best,
right,
when it should be at his worst, and that is why Superman's a hero.
Yep, agreed.
All right, nicely done, Dub. All right, my number 2 is Red Sun.
You jerk. No, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
It was a great arc. It's if Superman had landed in the USSR and been raised
during
to
the
be
Cold War.
A proper Russian soldier Superman.
Right, basically raised by Stalin.
It was unbelievably good. The
that
entire mindset.
That is by the brilliant Mark Millar.
Yeah,
by the way.
We didn't get that one wrong, at least.
Right.
Yeah, he didn't get pissed off at you for that.
Right.
But the entire concept, the mentality of Superman shifted to the Eastern Bloc was just an incredible read.
Yes.
The Green Lantern and Batman and Wonder Woman are just... I mean, there's no reason for them to be over there, but it's fantastic how they do it. And Lex being the hero.
Lois.
They would be attracted to that level of metahuman wherever he was from but the fact of the matter that he was just so Russian.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let me say this because
Sorry, Dub, was that your number one?
Yeah. Let me. Well, you're gonna hate me too. Let me just say this.
That's his number one too.
No, but let me say this. That story to me is why I can confidently say it doesn't matter where Superman was raised.
He's still going to be that dude.
He's still going to be Superman.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Even though he was the consummate
communist
soldier
Yes.
raised to be, he still makes the right decision.
Right. And of course he ends up in conflict with Batman because that's just what happens.
Yeah.
Well, Batman's kind of a jackass.
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
He is. He's kind of a D-bag.
All right, John, what do you got for number 2, brother?
My number 2 is Kingdom Come.
I'm so glad you didn't say movie number 3.
Yeah,
That stole your thunder.
Go
Okay.
ahead. Let's hear some of your Kingdom Come thoughts.
So my main reason why I like it, it was just like, it was kind of a, I don't know, I kind of like it to the Marvel's what ifs, like what happens if this happens, and it was just like, what happens if you have superheroes with no real mentor or moral compass, because that's what Superman always was for the superheroes of DC.
Right.
He was a moral compass, so like, hey, you know, this might not be popular, but this is the right thing that you should do.
Well, right. What if Superman would have landed at the feet of the Joker as a child?
Oh wow.
Jeez.
That's the worst thing I've ever heard you say.
Yeah.
Ever.
But actually, that's a lot how the heroes were in Kingdom Come, to be honest. They didn't have any moral compass whatsoever.
Yeah. Well, they became like mercenaries, essentially. They just became jerks. Like, they weren't doing anything.
Total, no sense of consequences.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, it's like, I always joke, like I've joked about it before. It's like, you know, it's like that line in Back to the Future when Doc Brown comes back and he's like, it's about your kids, Marty. What, do they become a-holes? Like, it's kind of like, well, that's basically what happens to the superheroes. It's like if Superman goes away.
Right,
you know,
exactly.
They become douchebags.
Right. And not just Superman, but all of the Keystone type heroes.
But Batman didn't go away. He was there, and he was just making them even bigger jerks.
Well, he was kind of underground by then, though. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you completely. Good job.
Nicely done.
My number 2, it won't take long. My number 2 is Red Sun by Mark Millar. Go on, Dubs.
Okay. My number 1 is Red Sun by Mark Millar. Go ahead. What's your number 1, sir? Well, we've discussed it to death.
All right.
I don't know how you can get a better story than it, to be honest. So.
All right.
Injustice. How's that? Okay.
Absolutely with you.
That's good.
My number 1 is the storyline of Dark Knight Returns when Bats and Soups go at it, man.
Oh, Dark Knight. Yeah.
That was one of the most entertaining storylines I've ever read.
You mean the fight where Superman let him win?
But see,
no, I mean the fight where Batman kicked his ass.
As Superman, though, I don't like the way he was portrayed in that at all.
No, I totally...
He was a total stick.
Yeah, I do not agree that Superman...
One-dimensional.
Superman would never become a government stooge.
You know, it's funny, because in that storyline, he went from the Big Blue Boy Scout to the Big Blue Scoutmaster. He was such a curmudgeon and an absolute stick. I didn't enjoy it, and I enjoyed watching Bats kick his ass.
Yeah, he would, but he'd never be a government stooge. It would never happen. Never happen.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing. He was curtailed under the government order, and that was offensive.
Right.
John, you're number 1, sir.
My number 1 is Death of Superman. I know it's kind of cliche, but it was such a big deal, like especially as a kid. It was just like, holy crap, you know, like other characters can die, Superman can't. Like how can you kill him off? Especially
made you cry, didn't it?
Huh?
Made you cry, didn't it?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah,
that was a big
bro.
deal. Like like you're a kid and you're like, okay, this guy can't die. Like he's, you know, it's impossible. Like that they would come up with somebody. He might get like hurt or a little sick, but never die.
Yeah, it's freaking Superman.
Yeah. Yeah, I still even have my my Death of Superman in the special packaging, too. I have one of them that I opened and one of them that I didn't.
Oh, very nice.
Good
Still
God.
won't be worth anything because there was a billion of them sold. That's fine. Everybody bought them and nobody opened them.
Nice. All right, so Jurgens and Simonson and company that wrote The Death of Superman were at a point where they're like, you know, what do we do to revitalize, you know, yada yada, and they're like, we should kill him, ha ha ha. Okay. And then it was like that idea developed, And they then put together The Death of Superman, which is also my number one. I remember the feeling of reading that comic and the panel where Booster Gold had just been punched by Doomsday, goes flying, Superman shows up and catches Booster Gold. And Booster Gold is like, this thing with one arm tied behind its back at the time just, decimated the Justice League. And Superman's like, okay, I'm going to check this out. Flies down there. There's Doomsday. Flies down in front of him. Doomsday throws the punch into Superman's chest. And just like with the Hulk, Superman just takes it. Doesn't even flinch. So Doomsday then switches it around and kicks him and knocks Superman for like 5 miles. And Superman, and there is what sets the tone and the stage for what's going to happen. And you get right down to it. It wasn't like a clever death. It wasn't a, well thought out death. It was a brutal beatdown where power, took on power, and they basically kind of killed each other, even though they both ended up coming back.
Because it's comics.
And it was, the thing is, though, it didn't really happen much before then.
Well, I tell you what, since the Death of Soup is your number one, I can honestly say how they portrayed it in the movie with Henry Cavill. You know what? It was a great representation, but the comic book representation was way more graphic and visceral.
And the novel representation.
Also, Doomsday actually appeared to be a pretty BA character. Like in the freaking movie, he looked like a Ninja Turtle got raped by a cave troll from Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, he did.
I was so disappointed with Doomsday.
There's a mental image that ain't going to leave very soon.
Yeah, part of the reason I can't stand Batman versus Superman is they cut and pasted.
They kludged too many things.
Yeah, they cut and pasted 2 of the best stories ever, and it's terrible. But
yeah, seeing his desiccated corpse up in orbit was bad.
Right, and the novel, as I said, I'm going to loan you, even more so as an emotional, like the emotions that Superman was going through in his mind as he was slowly but surely getting himself, realizing he was getting beaten, and the people around him that knew he was getting beaten but still held on to hope to the very end.
He had to take it. He knew it, yeah.
And it was done. And
all right, nice round robin, guys.
That is definitely a place to stop. Oh, I think we're going to do more of these character studies. I think they're really fun. I'm enjoying this. Yeah. So check out the website at the iHeartGeekShow.com.
At the thing on the what's
it? At the thing, because everyone's all doing the thing. Check out the Twitter at iHeartGeekShow. Check out the Facebook page. Talk to us. We will talk back. Take the polls. Do all that fun stuff. And until next time, I'm Dub.
I'm Todd.
I'm John from California.
I'm PB&Jason.
Keep on geeking on. I've been holding that for like 5 minutes. I'm sorry.
You've been listening to iHeartGeek. Our Twitter account is at iHeartGeekShow. Hope you enjoyed the show.